Okay, so now let's talk about the most strategic jobs. What are the most strategic jobs for your career? But before that, what do you really want? Do you want to have the social status? You want to become important, becoming a director or CEO? You want to have more money? You want to follow your passion? You want to have an impact? You want freedom? What do you really want? What is the most important for you? And most of the time, I feel when I talk about this topic, people are not very clear what is the most important. And it's okay if you want more money. It's okay if you want to have a prestigious office in the center of the city as a director. It's also okay if you want to follow your passion, but sometimes you have to, you need to be very clear what is the most important, because if you become, for example, a director or COO of a very big company, you won't have the same freedom. Or maybe if you want to be completely free, you won't have the same money and responsibilities than if you are a director of a very large company. So you don't have to be very clear at all steps of your life. But at one point for me, it was more about having the right projects. Then it was traveling and freedom. And at one point, I needed money because I was in Australia and it was very expensive. But money was never really the first one for me, because it was more the consequences of my results. But this is okay, and just be sure it's coming from you and not from your family pressure or your friends. And I think it's important to find your own alignments. And my goal is not to push you to become a director of a big company. You have many thousands of different ways to find your path. And I just want also to give you like examples, to inspire you maybe. So maybe you already have 10 years experience, 15 years, maybe not. You have just maybe pause on these pictures and what is resonating more with you. This guy, Tim Cook, he was CEO of Apple, COO before, and he was the supply chain leader and expert of Apple before that. And he was leading one of the most important company. And you have also the manager part. You want to lead a team. You want to be on the ground. I met so many passionate managers on the ground in warehouse factories, and that could be something that can really fulfill you, and to be in contact, all in the operations for. On the same targets. You could be more an engineer. You like robots, automation, and you will have a lot of opportunities in this area as well, around how to make our jobs easier and more automatic. Or maybe you want to become a teacher. Like right now, I'm a teacher. I'm a guide. I like to train. For me, I get more pleasure to explain to you how to do it than to do it myself for you. So I prefer to be a teacher than a consultant, even if I learn a lot like this person to be a consultant, because I'm also very good to analyze, to simplify. I also have a good communication. So people like working with me, and they always ask me, Edouard, can you do consulting with me? But I prefer to teach now, most of my time. Or maybe you love numbers and you want to be this person behind the screen, like really digging into data, like a data scientist, for example. Or you want to be free. You don't want to commit to one company. You want to have 3 or 4 clients, and you want to work maybe on the beach, like I did at one point in my life. Think about all this difference between being expert and leaders. There is not a wrong or good one. We need all of them in this world. And if you need more questions about the jobs, I recommend we publish a very huge ultimate guide with all the jobs, salaries, and career paths. I'm going to put a link below this video. So have a look on this quite long video. I'm going to focus only on few jobs on this specific episode, but if you are very curious, I think it's very important that you watch this video. Just to give you an idea, so we have many jobs in supply chains, logistics, transport, procurement. And also what is important is when you talk about money, it's very difficult to give you a specific number about how much do you deserve exactly today, because it depends on your country, of course. Between US and China, you don't have the same salaries, your industry, what you're doing, the size of your company, maybe also the diplomas you have in very big company, even if I think this is a mistake to get money based on your diploma. That's my own point of view. The level of skills, of course, is very important. Your experience, you also have like the risk, the performance, the potentiality. I'm going to get back to a few of them, but think about there is not a perfect number. and there is always a room to mistake and to negotiation as well with your company. But if you go back to the jobs in supply chain, you have the director. So I was a director in a quite big company. It's a very good money, but very good responsibilities and pressure as well, to be very transparent with you. You have below that, you have multiple, I'm going to focus more on the different aspect of the supply chain. You have the demand, I will call in a big company, you have a supply chain director. In a small one, you have a supply chain manager directly. You don't have director. What do you have here? You have below, you have what we call the demand planning. Demand planning supply chain around the data. You have the logistics, transportation, maybe import, export, warehousing, which is also very important. You have what we call the client relation director if it's part of the supply chain. So I was leading the customer service because we had in a FMCG company. Why? Because we were dealing, our customers were not the final clients, they were like distributors. So it was part of my responsibility. You have the procurement, sometimes part of it, sometimes in a different department. And you have what we call program projects and consultants. So this is the big pillars of the supply chain, and I've been managing and dealing with most of them. But I can already tell you that the most strategic one, if you want one day to become a supply chain director, is this one. It's really around the data. Logistics can be very outsourced, so it's important to know it, but don't spend too much time on this one, otherwise you can get stuck, especially if you don't master the data skills like forecasting, inventory management, analytics. This one, it really depends on the structure of the company. I will not recommend to have too much experience in this area unless you really like it, but this is not the most strategic one. And this one is also very strategic. Dealing with projects, for me, supply chain always needs transformation. So mixing between operations and like project management or consulting can be very, very powerful for your career. At the end, this is just an overview. You can see the salaries. You get more paid as a supply chain director than logistics. Procurement depends on the core business of the company. Sometimes it's separate or not. You can check my full video if you want more detail about it. If I go back to logistics, so in logistics, you have three main pillars. You have warehousing, transport, and you have import-export. You can see that warehouse makes more money than transport and import-export because usually you have also much more people and this is more central in the supply chain. But at the end, most of these jobs, they have a lot of outsourcing, so you have a lot of competition. They can be very passionate. I was dealing with logistics and I was responsible to projects to plan the opening of new warehouse for the next 5 to 10 years for Decathlon, for example. But at the end, I was more on the data analytic part. I didn't spend a lot of time on the ground, only 1 year. Because at the end, I could feel that it was not my game, and we had a lot of competition. When you have, for example, 60 warehouses director, and you want to become the logistic director, you have one job and you have 60 people waiting for it. So that's a lot of competition also with all this outsourced company. So explore this area. It's important to know it, but be careful if you want to go further. Don't spend too much time on this, or if you are working in a warehouse, for example, I will recommend before moving to maybe learn more about this analytical forecasting and inventory management skills to have an option and to show to your company that you can do more than operations. Okay, then I just wanted to focus more on demand planning because this is also from where I'm from. This is my magic skills. You have small business and big business. In a small business, usually you have an operation director and the supply chain manager will report to the operation director, okay? Or sometimes to the CFO, the finance director, but it really depends on the company. So the supply chain manager will take care of all these things: transport, purchasing, import-export, clients, logistics as well. But usually in this team, he has maybe 3, 4, 5, maybe 8 people. You have a supply chain coordinator dealing with, all the short-term planning and coordination. You have sometimes an analyst who will focus more on the data, the reporting, the KPI performance, which is better paid, as you can see, than the coordination. And usually you also have a demand planner, if it's not the same job, who will really focus on forecasting and inventory management. This is clearly more strategic to be here before becoming a supply chain manager. So this is a very classic organization with sometimes different name, but in a big company, it's much more complicated. Much more complicated because usually you separate what we call the planning on one side, and on the other side, more the demand and inventory management. It's more, you have much more, this is much more operations and short-term planning, and this is more strategic and data analysis. So these jobs, analyst, inventory management expert, and demand planner, they make more money clearly. And at the end, you have someone who will deal. I was a demand planning manager, so I was leading the supply planning team and the demand planning team, which was sometimes a bit confusing, to be honest, because planning for me, from my point of view, should be mostly automated. And if you have many people doing, like, oh, I need to split the order, I need to send it to the transport company, I need to do all of this, there is a lot of Excel and manipulation. And in my job, I spend most of my job to automate the planning and to focus more, me and my team, on forecasting, inventory management, and analysis. And for example, when I was supply chain manager at Decathlon in Brazil, my demand planning team was also doing all the planning part. We had no supply planner. We were doing all of them into one job with a lot of automation. So this is just an idea of what you can do. I also became S&OP manager, which is a very strategic job in big companies to help everyone to align into one direction, one number, one forecast. This is a very communicative job. You become the facilitator, and I became S&OP manager, which is a very visible job as well before becoming supply chain director. So that's a point of view. My focus for me is focus really on learning the right skills and having the right projects. And I will recommend more to explore this area if you have the right skills and performance than this one. But you can also learn a lot before fast tracking your career. Okay, then I also recommend to explore the project part. Whatever you do, whatever you're in a warehouse, transport, demand planning, I did a lot of projects. I love to optimize everything. I love to analyze and find the right way. And this is to create the right tools. I always start with Excel, and then we optimize our software or ERP system. But I did all of them, and I really like it. So you can do it inside your company as a project manager. You can do it as a consultant, which is also quite well paid with a lot of projects. And the thing is, I like to be part of the company as a project manager because you see the beginning and the end of the project. As a consultant, most of the time I feel you don't really see the results, you don't really feel the operations, and you have many clients, maybe too many clients. So I like the long-term projects, but you can also explore a lot being a consultant, and I've been doing this with AbcSupplyChain at the beginning. With super interesting projects to learn a lot. So I recommend to explore this both side. IT is also a very important part. I was dealing a lot with IT and information technology, especially around the ERP system. And I recommend you to have this appetite for technology. Then there is a kind of new trend around data analysts, scientists, and you can become also the super expert. You don't have to become a director to make a lot of money. If you are really good data science, AI engineer around, for example, supply chain, I will focus more around, everything around forecasting, like inventory management, and everything related to optimization with data. These jobs are, I will say, very well paid if you are good. The challenge of these people, and I will add data scientists in my teams, is the fact that most of the time they don't really understand the business. So they are really good with mathematics, but they don't know how to connect the dots. So I recommend to mix between operations, or for example, you can do a few years as a demand planner, and then you also explore the data science part if this is something interesting for you. Okay, so at the end, keep in mind there is no one perfect path. I'm going to go back to this. But I've been exploring the operations in logistics, analyst, inventory management. I became manager, then I became S&OP manager, and then director in many countries. That was my journey. But what is important is to mix between there is this graph I like from the Michigan State University. I like, as you can see, the more your job is operational, the less you will get money and the less is strategic. So you can see many jobs like this. You can pause this video. The more, for example, if you are focusing just on the this week, you probably do something very short term, like, oh, I'm gonna pick and pack my orders for my clients. Then you move to the tactic from 6 months to 24 months. Okay, I'm forecasting for the next 6 months my new products or my purchase in China. And the strategic is for the high profile and potential. And I was planning, for example, for the opening of new warehouse for the next 10 years or new factories or opening new suppliers lines. And this is much more strategic, but before doing that, you need to understand really first the operational, then the tactic, and then one day maybe you will do like me, the strategic part. I know I'm dealing with a CEO and COO, and we have very, very long-term strategy, which is also very interesting. So that's it for an overview of this what are the best jobs. You can check my full guide below as well. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about what are the most strategic industries and companies. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to really boost your career in supply chain, I do have a new free masterclass. And I'm going to share with you the best strategies, insights, and examples to become a supply chain expert and a leader. So you can check below this video. You have all the details, and just for your information, we also offer a free masterclass on the most strategic topics in supply chain and operations, talking about inventory management, how to reduce stockouts and overstock, how to generate more accurate forecasts with forecasting and the expert from Amazon, what are the best KPIs and dashboards to track your performance, how to automate everything on Excel, how to implement an efficient and collaborative S&OP process. So if you are curious, you can check below this video. And if you don't know what are the most important skills for you, you can already do a free skills assessment with us. You have a link below, and we're going to tell you what is your score, what are your best skills, and the one you should improve to become an expert and leader. So thank you for watching. Let us know if you have any questions and comments. Subscribe, and I see you very soon.